Hello, parrot.
Hello.
Hello. So you went, hello. Hello, parrot.
Hello,
Hello, parrot.
Hello,
Hello,
parrot. He says
hello,
parrot.
This is Matthew and Michael Clark. They're 42 and 39 years old. For the past 4 decades, the two brothers lived perfectly normal lives.
They were normal school kids. You know, Michael joined the RAF. It's just been a normal growing up period, really. Matthew was the same. He's worked every day of his life, Matthew. He's had job after job after job, but he got married, he had Lydia, just perfectly normal until they reached their 30s.
Now the two men are like toddlers and unable to look after themselves.
It's upsetting knowing that my dad is basically turning into a baby again.
In a cruel twist of fate, the two brothers are in the clutches of a condition that's regressing their brains and their bodies back to a childlike state.
Call it an illness, but I think it's a present from the devil.
I used to wish my sons were small again so I could have them back. I got my wish.
This is the story of an extraordinary illness and how the Clark family cope with Matthew and Michael's journey from manhood back to childhood.
That's nice.
The Clarks live in a one-bedroom council flat in Lincoln. They're one of the most unusual families in Britain.
Hello.
It's first time going. His legs mobile.
I'm the little one, and he's the big one.
The family are together 24 hours a day. Christine and Tony now have to do everything for their sons.
Get dressed.
Day by day, Michael and Matthew are getting less and less able to do things for themselves.
Right, you push it now.
I can push it. Can't push you very far, can I?
Oh, so right, just do it.
Since returning from their retirement in Spain, this tiny flat has been home to Tony, Christine and their sons.
This is the boys' bedroom. Room for the 2 beds, chest of drawers. They spend a lot of time in here watching DVDs, so one of us has to be with them all the time. That's why Chris is in here. She's not just having a day off or anything, but one of us is here all the time. So this is the living room. This is where we eat. This is where we watch TV. This is where we socialise. And this is where we're sleeping, Christine and I. Christine sleeps on this sofa, I sleep on this sofa. It's been like this for 27 weeks now and we've just nowhere else to go. We're stuck. No more accidents on these stairs. Okay.
Family life this time round is very different. Tony and Christine are having to relearn their parental skills.
They're not children. You've got to treat them as adults with a problem.
Gently, please, fish, you're alive.
Matthew, he is not childlike. He is in a lot of ways, but to him he's not.
Look at that.
Michael is very childlike, but he knows he's a man. He knows he's lived all this life. He's got memories. We do things as a family again. We have to do what the boys want to do. And they enjoy such simple things, but works both ways really. I mean, we don't get to do what we would like to do. I would love to just go out for a meal or whatever and just go and be able to just sit Tony and I like we used to. But it's not possible now, so it's hard work. There's a tendency to spill things and knock things over, you know, make a mess, and we're all the time taking care of them. So we need to get out, and it's a good thing to get out.
It certainly is a big learning curve, and I think some of the professionals are actually learning from us because they've never had to deal with this illness before either. It's so rare. And even the doctors are saying, well, we didn't know that, and we didn't know this, and making notes, and so maybe they're learning, hopefully they're learning something from us as well.
Hi.
As word began to spread about the mysterious condition of the Clark brothers, the press compared them to the fictional Benjamin Button character, who was born old and grew into a baby.
The stories about Benjamin Button really make me angry because my children are not, they're not actually children, they're men. Well, the men losing their abilities to do things. They're not going to get smaller and younger. I'm not going to be able to pick them up and cuddle them as children. That's fantasy. This is not, this is real. And they're suffering. That's it.
Whatever is happening in the boys' brains is impacting on every aspect of their behaviour. Matthew now wakes up crying inconsolably nearly every day. Tony's diary over the last few months charts how hard things have become.
Tuesday the 14th, he was awake 3 times in the night.
Come on.
3 o'clock he woke. He was still awake at 5:30. Sunday the 19th, awoke, irritable, distressed. Not a good day at all.
He doesn't know what's going on at all. In mining, it's like that all the time. It's like having he doesn't know? No, he doesn't know what's going on at all.
Monday the 20th, slept till 4 o'clock. Restless, tossing and turning in his sleep. Irritable, not good at all. Went out for a walk at 8:30. Just up now.
It's been an incredibly difficult few months, but life is about to change for the better for the Clark family.
Me, with a hat on my head. Me with a hat on my head.
Today they're moving house, back to their hometown in Hull, to a larger, specially adapted property.
Going back to the place where we were born, in Hull. And that's the best place for Hull City.
For Tony and Christine, the move to Hull symbolises a fresh start and an opportunity to build a new life.
It's a big improvement to where we are coming from, because it's a tiny 1-bedroom flat, and now we'll all have a bedroom. I can't wait. to actually have a bed.
First night in bed.
6 months.
This is Michael's room. Come in. Michael,
You're invited.
come in. Come in. Have a look at your room. This is the room. Alright, Michael. And there's the park.
He knows that.
Michael and Matthew were brought up and went to school here, so the move to Hull means the Clarks will have family and friends nearby. More importantly for Matthew, his daughter Lydia lives just a mile away.
Hiya.
Right. Yes, thank you. That's Lydia, my daughter. She's 18, 19, pregnant. It's going to have a little son. And it's going to be... What's the name, Mum?
What? It's going to be called Zachariah James Matthew Green.
Yeah.
So you're going to be a grandfather?
Yeah, and he got my name.
And how do you feel about that?
Oh, it's amazing, isn't it? That's
And
his
this-
neck.
this-
And there's his hands.
No, they're his feet.
Is that his feet?
This
Oh
is
my
his
God.
feet. And that.
Don't know what he's playing. He's playing rugby in there. He's playing rugby.
And that's his hand.
Yeah.
Near his face. They've said that there's a 1 in 100,000 chance that my baby could get it. But I don't think I can have anything tested until he's born. So when he is born, I'll get him tested for, obviously, any signs of it.
They told you that when you were in. When you
Explain to me, how many weeks have you got to go?
6 tomorrow. So it's just waiting to pop.
Good. She'll be around so when you need her. I'm Michael. And I'm Matthew Keith Clark.
Michael and Matthew Clark's lives are slowly unravelling. Bit by bit, their bodies and their minds are unlearning everything they've ever known. 42 years ago, when Michael was born, there was no indication that anything was wrong.
It was magical. It was your first baby, absolutely wonderful. When I think about it, I can actually get the feeling back that I had when he was born. And taking him home from the hospital and everything, it was absolutely wonderful. It is something special.
Very special.
3 years later, Matthew was born. Again, everything seemed fine, and as the brothers grew up, they were great friends.
As far as we knew, there was healthy lads. We couldn't see any sort of side of where there was anything wrong. It was just everything was normal.
Both boys started out in their careers. Matthew working in semi-skilled jobs, and Michael serving in the RAF for 18 months. Both men married and divorced. Matthew had a daughter, Lydia, who was 6 years old when her parents split up.
When him and my mum first split up, he got 3 jobs so that he could see me and afford to look after me. He had me every Wednesday and every weekend. He took me out, go for dinner, just made a real effort. He was a proper dad, proper how a dad should be.
But life for the Clark family was about to change radically. Tony had taken early retirement, and 5 years ago he and Christine moved to live permanently in Spain.
It was my idea in the first place,
Don't
going
leave-
to
don't leave
Spain and thinking that the boys would come for holidays once or twice a year and we'd come back and see them. It just didn't happen.
But while Tony and Christine were building a new life in Spain, back home there were signs that something strange was happening to their sons.
It was about 4 years ago, my mum's funeral. We started to notice a change in them. The girls said in the back of the funeral car that there wasn't talking like normal, you know, there was...
It was like, he said it was gibberish, it was a little bit gibberish, but they understood each other. He said, they said it was just really weird to see him like that.
We used to ring the boys every week, at least twice a week, and text them and send them photos on your phone and all this sort of stuff.
And then it all stopped. And I thought, well, there's something wrong. You know, why can't we get through? And it was a constant worry over what we thought they'd taken the huff at us moving out to Spain. So it's finally got to them, and I thought, oh, let them get on with it. We're here in dreary old England. Let Mum and Dad get on with it in Spain.
By the time Tony and Christine lost contact, Matthew and Michael were living together in Matthew's one-bedroom council flat in Lincoln. Kevin Poundle lived below them.
I went upstairs to see the lads. The lads opened the door, they were panicking. There was water dripping down the side, the electric light was still on, there's water dripping down the side of that. And it was just totally unbelievable. I could not believe what I was seeing. It was absolutely... it's hard to describe. I mean, if you've seen ground fighters on telly, then you've seen it.
A phone call came through to the office to say that some workmen were working in Matt's bathroom and there'd been an incident and they weren't happy to work. When I got there, I was told that Matt had actually defecated in the communal hallway. The workmen wouldn't work in that environment. Matt, when I got there, was crying. He was really, really upset. He'd obviously needed to use the toilet. They were working in the bathroom, and for whatever reason, he'd felt that he couldn't actually tell them that he needed the toilet, and obviously decided that the only thing he could do was go where he could go.
I'm shouting, Matthew, where are you? He's in the kitchen, so I've gone into the kitchen, and he's down there on his hands and knees, and I don't know, he's scraping cheese slices off the floor and scraping it in his mouth. And he just looked up at me, and he obviously thought what he was doing was normal. To me, at that point, there's something definitely not right. Like,
he reminded me of somebody that would be mentally ill. To be honest, he presented in the same sort of way as somebody that I'd been dealing with that was suffering mental illness.
Michael and Matthew's behaviour was becoming more and more abnormal, but no one really knew what to make of it or what was causing them to behave in this way.
It got to a point where as Matthew was getting worse and coming on worse, I think Michael was obviously not quite as bad as Matthew, but I think a lot of Michael's problem was he was embarrassed by it all, and he didn't want to necessarily bother us, did he, as such? He liked to try and sort things out with Matthew on his own. And they got arguing that bad that Matthew came down one day and he just says, I want Michael out, I want him gone.
When Matthew was born, Michael was nearly 3, and Tony brought him to the hospital, and we took him into the baby ward and said to him, right, pick a baby, one of these you can have. What about this one? And he said, yes, that one.
Michael, mine.
My baby brother. My little brother is stuck.
The brothers' illness had destroyed the closeness they had once had. Michael was living rough on the streets, and on a freezing winter's night he ended up in one of Lincoln's homeless shelters. Mental health worker Brenda Fitzpatrick just happened to be on duty that night. Her chance meeting with Michael would prove to be the key moment in the Clark brothers' story.
As soon as I met him and started getting a bit of his history, there were sorts of things that weren't making any sense to me. I couldn't really understand what was going on for this gentleman. He just seemed to be very confused, almost like he had some sort of learning issue. And I just felt that I was really concerned that if we left the night shelter, he could disappear and we'd never see him again. Because I've got a possible...
The shelter is a one-night stopover only, so Brenda had to act fast.
You have? Okay, when's one going to be free?
Brenda found an emergency placement 40 miles away in a Salvation Army hostel in Skegness.
Michael was quite loud. He enjoyed playing pool. He had his toy soldiers that he used to paint in his room. He joined in all activities of the centre, quizzes, pool competitions, whatever was going on, Michael was fully involved in. He was also very, very intelligent, and that came across from day one.
Even though Michael was intelligent, the staff were becoming more and more concerned by his behaviour.
There was a couple of major incidents that we had with Michael that were very concerning. One was the fact that he was found eating a raw chicken. One of the project workers that got out to check on him, he was actually eating raw chicken. We tried to explain to him that you need to cook chicken, but he'd lost that ability to understand that you couldn't just take something from the fridge. Then another more upsetting incident was when he'd been in the shower on room checks, and then a couple of hours later, when one of the project workers went up to check whether he'd eaten and had his shower, he was found in the shower, and he didn't understand how to get out of the shower. He'd been in there a couple of hours, we believe, because the floor was flooded, and he was actually curled up in fetal position in the shower base. The project worker then had to try and help him out, but he seemed quite frightened and hadn't understood why he wasn't able to get out of the shower. We never got a real explanation from him other than he got scared and couldn't get out of the shower.
By now, mystery surrounded Matthew and Michael. They had become alienated from each other. They were hugely vulnerable, and they were isolated from friends and family.
Matt told me that he wasn't in touch with his parents and that they lived away and he couldn't get in touch with them, that he didn't know where they were. His reason for being, if you like, was his daughter.
It was weird the way it just changed from him being in touch every day to him slowly hearing less and less and less of him. And then I wrote to him and then didn't get a reply.
He would show me Lydia's letters, but they weren't current letters, they were old, so the address on them apparently was no good. He didn't know how to go about contacting her, didn't know where to start looking for her, had no way of actually getting hold of Lydia.
I didn't know if I'd done something wrong to upset him. I didn't know if there was something had happened to him. I didn't even know if he was still alive at one point. I'd not heard from him for that long.
His desire to speak to her was overwhelming. It was touching. It was upsetting, because you could see that he wanted nothing more but couldn't go about it.
None of the professionals working with Michael and Matthew initially realised the two men were brothers. When Brenda found out they were related, she referred them for medical assessment. Michael was chosen to have a brain scan. Would this solve the mystery of what was happening to the Clark brothers?
So just to show you Michael's brain scan and how abnormal it was, I'll first show you how a normal magnetic resonance imaging or MRI brain scan looks like. So this is a normal healthy individual, that's the right and that's the left, and we're scanning from the head, top of the head coming down.
When compared to a normal healthy scan, Dr. Sockie could see immediately the decay in Michael's brain.
You can clearly see this very high, what we call high signal, or very white part of the scan, which is clearly abnormal compared to the previous scan, and it's affecting all parts of what we call the white matter, or the connections, the wiring within the brain.
The mystery of the Clark brothers was on the way to being solved. Both Matthew and Michael have leukodystrophy, an extremely rare disease that attacks the protective myelin sheath and short-circuits the nervous system. The brothers have an unknown strain of the disease. There is no known cure. After the diagnosis, Brenda and her team tracked down Tony and Christine in Spain to tell them what was happening to their sons.
You know, it's just something that's going to play on our minds forevermore, that we didn't come over earlier. Not that we could have done anything, not that things would have been any different now, but at least we'd have been here a bit earlier and maybe helped out a bit more. I don't know.
No, what are you doing, you?
Leukodystrophy had brought Michael and Matthew's parents home to look after them. The Clark family were now facing an uncertain future together.
Daddy, Daddy. This is his illness. This isn't anything to do with. He just doesn't know where he is or what he's doing at all. Okay, son. He does ask to go out, though. Once he asks, we do whatever he wants to do. So once he asks to go out, do you want his jacket?
The Clark family are learning to live with an extremely rare neurological condition called leukodystrophy. When they moved to a specially adapted house, they thought their lives would get better.
You're all grumpy guts this morning, aren't you?
2 years.
But 5 weeks after the move, both Matthew and Michael's condition has taken a turn for the worse.
Go this way. Go this way, son.
Come on, this way.
No, don't go up the stairs. You can go back in your lift. Come on.
Since their return from Spain, Tony and Christine have taken responsibility for the round-the-clock care of their 2 sons, keeping medical and social services at arm's length.
Chris thinks that all they want is hair. You know, Matthew only wants Chris, but there's only so much Chris can do. So before it's going to start affecting her health, you know, she's got to have a life outside of the boys, what she did have before. You know, otherwise she's not going to be any good to them.
Daddy, Daddy. Now what about the future of all this? When you're sitting here dealing with it, do you think about the future?
No, I don't want to think about the future. Sorry. We know they're going to get worse. And I can't think about that. We'll deal with it when it comes.
The future looks understandably bleak to Christine, but the Clark family do have something to look forward to. In a few weeks' time, Matthew's grandson will be born. Leukodystrophy is a genetic disorder, and Lydia may have inherited or be a carrier of the condition.
I've spoken to my grandma and granddad about it, and they've said there's like a 1 in 100,000, maybe more, chance that he could get it as well. So I am going to get him checked for it, but it's not a big concern that I'm worried about at the moment.
No proper tests can be developed for Lydia or her unborn baby until Matthew or Michael go into hospital for further examination.
To get the exact diagnosis is to actually go to the actual problem. So that would be actually going into his brain and taking a sample of the brain tissue that looks abnormal on the scan and looking at that under a microscope. But the trouble with that is you'll do that. You'll put him through such a complicated and very risky big operation just to get that tissue, and you could ask to what benefit.
I said it's not going to do the boys any good. They can send them in for tests from now till Christmas, and it's not going to do them any good. So I appreciate that it may help people in the future, especially as this seems to be an unknown strain of leukodystrophy, and I wouldn't put them through some of the pain of some of the tests. So it's not going to happen, no.
In the absence of tests, the baby's prospects remain a mystery. But it's a risk Lydia and her boyfriend Adam seem willing to take.
I suppose I should maybe be a bit more worried about what's to come in the future, but I think I'm just going to take every day as it comes, and if he shows any signs of anything, then get it seen to straight away.
Like I said, that it's not going to change any,
no.
Make him any different now, is it?
No.
And it's still your son at the end of the day, isn't it?
Yeah, just learning to cope with
Yeah.
whatever it is.
But looking after a child with leukodystrophy is hugely challenging. Linda Carthy is a mother living with that challenge.
I heard that then. Are you hungry? Are you hungry? I heard and felt that. Your belly go, "Arr, you got a tiger in there. Or a lion. Is it a lion? Rawr.
Linda's son Luke was diagnosed at the age of 2 when Linda was in her early 20s. Luke is now 11 years old.
He can start to panic, which makes his breathing worse. But if I was to put him down on the settee and walk away, then he'd go ape, wouldn't you? You don't like that. And that would set one off. But at the moment, because his spine's so curved, he can't sit in his wheelchair or his other things for very long before that will set it off as well. Well, he was born normal, no signs of illness whatsoever, healthy, met all his milestones, walking, talking. Around 13, 14 months old, I noticed that he had shakes when he was drinking, so he would have these tremors. And then he started to fall over eventually and decided to test for rare genetic diseases, which were, I didn't know at the time, but they were the leukodystrophies. And unfortunately, the diagnosis of infantile MLD came back.
From a small office in her home, Linda runs the Myelin Project, an organisation which helps and advises families living with leukodystrophy.
It is a very lonely time because it is such a rare condition that it's hard to even find a professional, let alone someone else out there that's gone through it. So I think this is my kind of coping mechanism. Also, I'm extremely lucky in the fact that I have a fantastic mum and dad, and without them, I don't think I would have been able to have survived. You do need support, you do need help, you need someone to go through it all, you know. You just have to get on with it.
Another mother tackling leukodystrophy head-on is Sarah Hunt from London.
The morning routine, is it?
Yeah, no, this is Alex's juice. We like to give him fresh fruit and vegetable juice. And we put all this weird green stuff, but it doesn't half make his skin go good.
Sarah refused to give up on her son and has done everything and anything she can to keep him alive as long as possible. Alex was diagnosed at the age of 7 and given a year to live. 12 years on, he needs round-the-clock care. Amazingly, Alex is still capable of communication.
Alex, would you like your hair to look spiky today? Alex? Alex?
He blinks once for yes
Alex?
He's sleeping.
and twice for no.
Wake up.
But Alex has lost the ability to swallow, and Sarah had a peg tube fitted, so his food and medication can be injected directly into his stomach.
Personally, I'm probably quite unrealistically positive. Other people don't feel like that. They feel that, you know, it might be better if they slipped away quickly or whatever, you know. It doesn't really matter, I don't think. It's just whatever's right for you, you know. You can't judge people because they think it'd be better if somebody died because they've got this horrible thing, and you can't judge people because, you know, they're unrealistically positive and think, oh no, one day there might be a cure.
Alex has a younger brother, Aidan.
Me and Alex are always spending time together whenever we can. And we're probably quite similar in that we're both really smart and we both love the same kind of TV shows. He's just a great brother. That's all there is to it.
At the age of 11, Aidan is already something of an expert on leukodystrophy.
Well, I know that it's a rare genetic brain disorder that, if left untreated, can lead to getting disabled, or if left untreated for too long, can lead to death. And well, I had it, but I managed to get a bone marrow transplant in 2008, which probably saved my life.
Sarah does everything she can to give her 2 sons a normal life. Alex goes to a special needs college and Aidan a local school. She spends the rest of her time raising funds for scientific research in the hope that one day her efforts could benefit other sufferers.
I just think it's really important that anybody with any leukodystrophy, rare disease or what have you, goes and gets all those annoying little tests done, because without those facts and figures, then the researchers have got nothing to base their research on, the clinicians have got nothing to base their treatments on, and for example, Aidan wouldn't be having bone marrow transplant, and he would now be the same state as Alex, which would be heartbreaking. But because somebody did a bit of research, they found out that bone marrow transplant works, they don't know how it works, they just know that it does work, then all those kids that we know have got the gene, they've got a really, really good chance of a life.
Both these remarkable mothers will never give up their fight against the condition.
That was good.
But what does the future hold for Michael and Matthew?
Oh yeah, tell me.
Like other families affected by leukodystrophy, Tony and Christine will soon be forced to come to terms with their son's condition.
God,
September the 20th. It's the event the Clark family have been waiting for. Matthew's grandson, baby Zachary, has arrived.
The latest member of the family.
But for Christine, the birth of the baby is bittersweet.
He's beautiful, he's absolutely lovely. But I think there's too many emotions going around in our family at the moment that I can't seem to feel how I want to. The memories it brings back, of course, are memories of my babies. So the baby also makes me feel sad. I should be overjoyed and wanting to cuddle him and like we did with her. And the opportunity's there again to be part of Zach's life. And we will be. It's just, it's a life for a life. Please, God, don't take my sons.
Linda Carthy knows all about the isolation, the loneliness, and the despair of being a leukodystrophy parent. Linda's on her way to visit the Clark family. She's talked on the phone, but never actually met them in person.
I have to admit, it took me a while to even want to talk to anybody else. So it's not necessarily to bring them into the community, but just so that they know that I am here, we are here. And sometimes it helps to just talk to somebody who's not directly involved.
For 8 months, Tony and Christine have tried to cope on their own, looking after their 2 sons. This is the first time anyone with specialist knowledge of leukodystrophy has been into their home.
That was taken last night while he was trying to eat.
It's lovely, isn't he? Yeah, little boy. Yeah.
Linda's pictures of her son give Tony and Christine a glimpse of what lies ahead. Regardless of age, the effects of leukodystrophy are the same.
The beast.
Tony and I were in touch about his sons, and we had a chat about where they were, what was happening to them, and how it had transpired that they got the diagnosis of an unknown leukodystrophy. So they're this happy all the time. I gave him advice of who should be involved with the care and what they should be doing, and to not be afraid of asking for help. Do you understand?
Nobody's told us about anything that will happen. I mean, you just...
We know it's the breaking up of the myelin sheath.
Yeah.
Round the brain.
And do you understand why the myelin sheath breaks up? What the consequences of the myelin sheath?
No.
Matthew, in the morning when he wakes up, you can't touch him.
Yeah.
You can't touch him, especially because I think you're heavier-handed and he's really sensitive.
Yeah. Go in and I just very like that and go, Luke, and be really quiet. When he was at the peak of his deterioration, if I just went in and went, Luke, that'd be it. Scream in pain as if you'd thrown acid on him, and that's all the nerve endings.
Because you can do it, just touch, and they go, oh, that you really hurt me.
They will lose the swallowing reflexes. And I've noticed the way that they're eating at the moment is quite dangerous. They're eating far too much. Big is please consider, what I'm saying to you today, and get peg feeds for them, inserted while they are still able. And I know it's just a few days in hospital and they absolutely hate it, but the alternative is to sit and watch them starve to death. And it's not nice. I do think that you should be discussing this with your neurologists. Unfortunately, the end result will still be the same, and that will be that they won't be able to communicate, they won't be able to move and talk and eat and things like that. And I know I feel really awful, I'm sorry. As bad as it sounds, you just get used to being like that and living like that. And you do become stronger, because as your children become weaker, you've got no choice other than to become stronger.
I think I have a bit. I think I have already become stronger than I was. And poor Tony goes through hell.
But that's part and parcel of partnership. And that's brilliant. Yeah. That's brilliant that you've got each other to be able to pull each other through.
Yeah. I think you're the same though, aren't you?
Yeah. Yeah. Head. Hollow head.
The hollow head.
Hang on.
Uh-oh.
They've become my life again. That's how it is. And we see it through to the end, whether it's our end or theirs.
Linda Carthy and her work at the Myelin Project has opened a door for the Clark family.
We're a very small community, leukodystrophy parents and families, and we've got to help everybody else. We've got to kind of look towards the future and try and be as helpful and as informative and stick together with the scientists and help them as much as possible.
We needed to know. We really needed to know. To give us some idea of what we're facing. But it's scary, really scary. You know that what's going to happen, but in detail like that was a bit shocking.
We needed to know what's the nature of the beast is, and now we do know. We can, like she said, we can get the right doctors involved, we can get the physiotherapy involved, we can get proper nursing organised for when we need it. You know, and it's helpful. But at the same time, it's really damn scary.
Look at your dog, he's going the wrong way.
I'll put my hands in your pockets then. Oh, we're nice and warm. We're nice and warm.
He's going the wrong way.
Your hand in your pocket.
Can you see the dog goes there? It's going the wrong way. It's going the wrong way. She's going that way and the dog's staying where he is and sniffing something. And it's not his own butt. Oh, he's sniffing some
all American now.
Hey, he's in the poo. Your dog to know up. Poo. Yes.
The Clark family, having been forced into a remarkable journey, are only partway through. But now they can face their future, knowing they are not travelling alone.